BMM Youth team is so excited to present an interview series called My American Journey to benefit our Marathi teenage kids. In this series, we will be interviewing guests from law enforcement. We'll be asking them to come in from IT, information technology, military, medicine, finance, pharmacy, and many, many, many more. All our guests, all of them, will be either US born or US raised, Marathi, young men and women. And we will be talking with them, we will be discussing with them their professional careers in this country. We hope, we truly hope that the experiences of our guests immensely help these Marathi kids, the young kids, in navigating their own careers in their lives. So, without further delay, we are proud to present our first guest of this series, Second Lieutenant Samir Patil. Yay. Hello, Samir. How are you?
Good. How are you? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Welcome to this program. And please tell us a little about yourself.
Well, my name is Second Lieutenant Samir Patil. I'm an active duty officer stationed at Fort Irwin, California. I commissioned at Wayne State University, which is in Michigan. And I've been in the Army for 4.5 years. And 1.5 years, I've been an officer.
Okay.
Wishing you a very warm welcome, Samir Patil. So our program is to help out the high schoolers here, to help them to make a career choice. So can you please let me know approximately when and how did you decide to go into the Army?
So I decided to join the Army when I was a sophomore in high school. I know it's kind of early for some people, but I fell in love with politics and, just all the issues that were going around in the world at that time. So at that time, around 10th grade transitioning to 11th grade is when I decided that I really wanted to join the Army.
Very nice, very nice. So your choice of career is an extraordinary one, and it takes an extraordinary parent, a very selfless parent, to give consent. I know as a mother, I'm talking as a mother. So how easy or difficult was it for you to get consent from your parents for this extraordinary choice of career?
Yes. So both my parents were very supportive. Obviously, the biggest thing was just fear, their son going into the Army, stereotypical fear that parents have of sending their children away, even if it's going out to college. I'm sure all parents feel that way. But throughout the whole process from beginning to end, even though they, tried to steer me a little bit off of going into another path, they were right by my side, from the beginning all the way to where I am now. So I couldn't be more thankful for them.
Oh, wonderful.
That's very good to know.
Right. So, Samir, I'll be asking questions about college.
Okay.
Mainly, what clubs, groups, or extracurricular activities did you join in college?
So when I was in college, as far as clubs and extracurriculars, I didn't have too many. I just pretty much, worked out a lot, did a lot of intramural sports. But the biggest thing that I put a lot of my time into was ROTC, which is the Reserve Officer Training Corps. And, that's something that I'd like to touch on here in the interview. But more than that, the clubs that in extracurriculars I did were just more physically based rather than actual, career-based extracurriculars.
Sure. So again, so you mentioned ROTC.
Yes.
Could you explain exactly what is ROTC and what it involves?
Yes. So ROTC is the Reserve Officer Training Corps, and pretty much it's a program that you can sign up to do throughout your 4 years of college. And this allows students their first year to either try out or even sign the contract their first year. But what it is they will have their degree, their college degree that they'll take. But on top of that, they will be, required to go through physical training in the morning from 05 to 06, depending on how the school is run. They'll be going to military labs where they'll learn how to be a soldier. And on top of that, they'll also have military science classes where they learn the history of the Army, the wars that we've been in, and even, the customs and courtesies of of the Army.
Sure. So, I mean, basically, ROTC is a course and you get credits for it, or would that be considered extracurricular?
No, so yes, ROTC I guess, you do get credits for it. You do
Okay.
get credits for it, and it can apply to your degree depending on the degree you take. That that determines how many credits are applied.
Yeah. So, I mean, my next question was going to be, how did you reconcile studies with ROTC? But as you said, you do get credits for it, so it is considered part of your actual studies.
Yes,
So,
yes, it is.
okay. So, our interviewers, are we clear about ROTC?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
In
think so.
that case, I will hand it over to Anjali, who will be asking you about.
Yeah, let's move towards like career, like what is your job? Like, what do you like the best about it? Like, what do like what kind of personal traits or, interest you need to have for this type of career or your job?
Yes. So I'm an 11 Alpha, which in the military terms is an infantry officer. And so my job is to train and lead soldiers in order, if we went to war, I'd take those soldiers and head into war with them. The infantry is the front lines, like, defense of our nation. So that's why I chose the job, but that is my job title, infantry officer. And I think I guess the most rewarding part of the job is what I can learn from the soldiers and what they can learn from me, because some of these soldiers, they've come straight out of high school, and some of them are almost like 5 years older than me. So it's a vast variety of knowledge, and just learning from them and me giving them knowledge as well is just extraordinary. Like I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
Wow. You just mentioned it, and that was going to be my next question. Let's say if I decide to join Army, tomorrow. What basic qualifications do I need? I was going to ask you, can I join the Army right out of high school? Or, like, are there any specific schools you can go to, in the Army?
Yes, so you can join the Army in multiple different ways. So straight out of high school, so you have your enlisted and you have your officers. So enlisted are your soldiers, and they have like their specific ranks, and you have the officers and they have their specific ranks. So some enlisted ranks would be, private. Then you have specialist and sergeant, and the officers you have like second lieutenant, captain, major, and generals. So that's how like the two divisions work. So if you were to go straight into the Army, you'd be on the enlisted side of it. And then if you went through the ROTC or OCS, which means that OCS is another commissioning source, and that is pretty much you go through your 4 years of college, you get your degree in whatever you want, and then you go through OCS. And that is another commissioning source. It's a condensed ROTC into 3 months, and then you become a commissioned officer. You do basic training. There's like, just hidden things that you got to do as far as like basic training and whatnot, also embedded into OCS, but it's a more condensed version of ROTC is the best way to put that.
Okay. So what is a daily life for an officer or a soldier? Like what's your daily life like?
So my daily life for me personally is I'll wake up every day at 4:30 in the morning. So I'll wake up at 4:30 in the morning. I'll be at the gym at 5. So 5 to 6 is when I'll do like my personal training sort of deal. And then at 6:30 we have formation. So formation is like we all line up and make sure that we have everyone accountable. And then 6:30 to 7:30 we'll do a group PT with all my soldiers and all the NCOs and everyone together, just to build morale and just make sure that everyone is in shape pretty much. After PT, we'll go to, we call it chow. So chow is breakfast. We have breakfast, lunch, and dinner chow. Okay. So we'll go to chow. We'll conduct hygiene, take a shower and stuff like that, and then you report at 09. So then at 9 to 1700. And that's 1700 is like on a good day. You'll do your work, and that depends on the job you have. Like the infantry, like we'll be out there training. We'll try to do maintenance on vehicles, or like we'll be conducting battle drills. But it just depends on your job. So I guess from 09 to 1700 you'll be doing your job, and then after 1700 you're released for the day, and then you kind of repeat. So the one thing about the military, it's very structured in everything that you do. So.
Okay.
Of course it is. So, what's the difference between enlisted and an officer?
Yeah, so like I was saying earlier, the enlisted are like your soldiers. So you
Oh.
you can rank up, and then the officers are the people that lead the soldiers. And just to touch back on like the commissioning sources and what you can do. Like I said, you can join straight out of high school and go enlisted, or
Okay.
you can go get your degree and get an and go the officer route. But the one thing that I do want to mention too is that when you do go to college, you don't have to become an officer. If you can take that degree and also enlist after that as well to become a soldier and become an NCO. It's more so like what type of job you want. As an NCO, it's more technical. You're kind of doing hands-on versus officer. You're planning the mission, the higher mission of the general officers. So
Okay.
it just depends on your personality and your lifestyle and what you really want to do.
Okay, got it. So now, just if you can describe what's the difference between active duty and National Guard, and I just wanted to know if you have experienced both, and what was your experience?
Yeah, so
in both areas.
Yeah, so like I said, I've been in the Army for 4.5 years. So that 4.5 years would mean, and I started in college, and that's when I did National Guard. So I enlisted in the National Guard the end of sophomore year of college, and I went to basic training. And basic training is a course where that's a typical basic training is a typical Army story where you have the guys in the brown hats and they're yelling at you and kind of breaking you down. That's what basic training is. So I went through that. And then I came back and then finished my degree. So that, and pretty much the difference between the National Guard and active duty is National Guard is 1 weekend per month you're serving, like you put on the uniform 1 weekend per month. And then the rest of the time per month, you're doing your civilian job. So whatever that may be, you can do whatever you want and then still part-time serve in the Army. Active duty, however, 365, you're wearing this uniform every single day. So that's the biggest difference between National Guard and active duty.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you an interesting question. Do you think a glass ceiling existed for the first generation? And if your answer is yes, do you think it exists for your generation?
No, that's a good question. I think the first generation may have had a little bit of a glass ceiling, but I think that we've definitely come far away from where we were before, for sure, 100%. The Army is very big. Like we go to monthly meetings and briefs on equal opportunities. What EO is what we call it in the Army, and in those meetings we talk about the diversity we have in the Army and how proud we are to have that diversity in the Army. So I would really say like the Army is actually not a reflection of our country right now and the turmoil that it is socially, but it is actually one step 10 steps better than the rest of America at the time right now. So because in our eyes we're all green, so which is
good to hear that. So good to hear that. Really, seriously. So how can Army benefit you? Like, say I don't want to stay all 20 years, like the full service. How does Army benefit you, somebody?
So the Army can benefit in many ways. So if you're planning to go like a typical, I'm not gonna say typical, let me take that back. But if you go on a route of like doctor, engineer, any other job like that, you can finish that job and the Army can actually pay for that too. So if you say that, hey, look, I want to be a doctor, the Army will be like, okay, so you give me 4 years and we will pay for your medical school, whatever it is. So that's how the Army can benefit you. Obviously, like aside from that, like you just learn like a lot of, I guess, about yourself. Like there's a lot of things that you bring out from yourself, whether it be like courage, integrity, adaptability. There's a lot of leadership, that you take out from the Army that can benefit you in the civilian world.
Okay. So just if you can elaborate, what is the service obligation?
So
is there an obligation?
Yeah, that all depends. So if you go through OCS or like another route like that, they'll give you an option, and the lowest you can do is 3 years, and the most you can do is, 20, 30, whatever you really want. So it all depends, when you talk to a recruiter, like the path you want to take, it just, depends on your lifestyle, like what you want to do, where you want to be in 5 years. So it all depends on the individual.
Okay. So pros and cons, pros and cons of military. And what is the biggest lesson you have learned, in last 4.5 years?
So let's start with the pros. So the pros is like I just said, you learn a lot about yourself.
Yes.
And you grow as an individual tremendously just from going through basic training. Like if you leave at 18 or like even like early 20s, you're separated, and now like you're put in a position that you've never been in your entire life. Or in my case, it's like I'm 23 right now, and now in a couple of weeks I'll be in charge of 30 other people. Wow. So like that big step of not only taking care of myself but taking care of 30 other people is just, puts me in a mindset of, hey, look, like I have all these eyes watching me, like I can't let them down. So I think that's the biggest pro you can take from joining the Army.
Of course.
And as far as cons go, I really don't want to call them cons, but I think the biggest one that I felt was, being separated from my family and friends. But I mean, that's just something, that you just have to realize when you put on this uniform, like when you are away, like you are fighting for those people, like you are serving these people. And that's just something you have to look, in the future, be like, hey, look, these people are going to be safe because you're doing the job that you are doing. So that's probably the biggest, I guess, con. And then as far as something that I've learned in the military, and this may seem like a little cliche, but it's the whole aspect of just never giving up, because this job is very like strenuous, and there will be a time where, the hardship will prevail and you will just feel defeated, at all costs. And I've already had, times in my 4 years in my military career that I've felt like super low. And there's actually one quote, that I lived by, and it was, smooth seas don't make good sailors. And even though I'm in the Army, not in the Navy, like those hardships make you the person that you are. And, you should never give up and just, follow your dreams pretty much. If this is what you want to do.
Bravo, Samir Patil, bravo. So let's go on a lighter note. Okay. What is your favorite military movie?
Military movie. So the reason why I like these movies, and I'd like to share with the kids too, is because I think it's a good show of like the type of person you need to be to join the Army. I'm not saying like, most of these movies are all infantry based, so not everyone has to pick up a gun and go fight front line, because everyone is useful in the Army no matter what job you do. So but my 3 best movies is Saving Private Ryan, Black Hawk Down, and then Hacksaw Ridge. And they're all like different careers. You can see the different careers in the Army in all 3 of those movies. So I find those the best to watch for sure, and would recommend to watch it.
They absolutely are, no doubt about that. Absolutely, I agree totally with you. So have I missed anything? Like I mean, thank you very much for the interview. But did we miss anything? Do you want to give any advice, or do you want to tell anything to our young viewers, these eager minds who are listening and watching you?
Yeah. So I know we briefly touched on like a lot of information, and I know if I actually, went into it, they'd be drinking from a fire hose. So I don't want to do that on this, this short interview that we have, but I would like to extend and give you guys my contact information. So then if they do have any questions, or want to dwell into my mind of like what an infantry officer really is, or the enlisted side of it, I would be more than happy to, give these kids a chance to do that. So I'll give you guys my email, so then you guys can hand it out to whoever. And as far as advice goes, I'd say just from my personal experience, just do what you really love to do. I know there's a lot of influence from parents and friends, or as far as money goes, and those are big things to obviously look for. But trust me when I tell you that when you really do what you love, you will be successful no matter what. And that's probably the biggest advice I give. No matter what job you guys go into, you can make it in any job. So
that's fantastic advice. Thank you so much for your service, Samir. And thanks to your parents. Hats off to your parents. Hats off to you.
And
Yep.
yeah, and basically, yes, your journey American journey has just started. And I hope one day you can write your own My American Journey like General Powell.
Yes.
Yes, Samir, thank you so much. Thank you for giving us your time. Thank you for sharing your experiences. And most importantly, thank you for taking us with you on your American journey. We
Yeah.
appreciate it a lot.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this. And my door is open. So.
Yeah, and thanks for mentoring our kids too. That's a very generous offer. Appreciate it.